Hello everyone, this is Erik, the Asian movie enthusiast, and this is my review of As Tears Go By, a Hong Kong crime drama that has a bit of romance and action mixed in, from 1988 that was directed by Wong Kar Wai. Now I will quote and paraphrase the Wikipedia plot synopsis for convenience. The film centers around Wah, played by Andy Lau, a man who works with the triads. He primarily deals with debt collection, so collecting money from people who borrowed from the mob. Now his subordinate, Fly, who he's very close with, played by Jacky Cheung, also works for the mob, but is less successful and frequently causes trouble by borrowing money that he can't pay back. Now out of the blue, Wah receives a call from his aunt, informing him that his second cousin, named Ngor, played by Maggie Cheung, whom he has never met before, will be coming to stay with him in Hong Kong for the next few days. So the question is this: can Andy Lau keep Jacky Cheung out of trouble long enough so he can hook up with Maggie Cheung? That's basically the question of the film. Now, I've been covering quite a few Andy Lau films on this channel recently. It's not really like I've been targeting his career specifically or anything like that, but it just so happens that he is the lead actor in some of the films that I've been covering in recent months. But it's always a pleasure to see the man work. So his character in As Tears Go By is a bit of a hothead. He roughs up a dude to collect a debt early on, and then he runs into his girlfriend and has a falling out with her, and then he goes home in a drunken stupor, I think, and just trashes his apartment in anger, and then he scares poor Maggie Cheung for no good reason. So he doesn't have a very good day at the beginning of this movie. But the man also has a good side to him as well. And the two, him and Maggie Cheung's character, warm up to one another throughout the film. And it's important that Andy Lau was able to so effectively express a character with an edge and a heart, kind of at the same time. And in some ways, you can understand some of his frustrations because Jacky Cheung's character constantly gets himself into bad situations that compels Andy to clean up his mess. The guy's constantly running around getting this guy out of messes, you know what I mean? One thing I will say is that much of the time, I felt like Jacky Cheung's character is completely deserving of some of the bad stuff that happens to him. It's hard to feel sorry for the guy because it's almost like he's begging for a bullet in the head. I mean, when you go and you play a billiard game for money, and you play without having money on you, and you try to cheat and act just obnoxious, you're asking for a bullet in the head. I'm sorry, you just are. At least Andy Lau's character is level-headed enough, even though he's a hothead himself, he's level-headed enough to think through a possible resolution to certain conflicts, even if they end up, requiring him to be a bit aggressive, you know what I mean? So yeah, Jacky Cheung's character just creates all kinds of conflicts in this movie. But regardless of the characters and their characteristics, everyone plays their role very well. Now, as expected from a Wong Kar Wai film, this is extremely stylish, and it takes place at night much of the time, which I always like. A lot of vibrant colors, of course, as well. During my recent repeat viewing, I was instantly reminded of why I liked this film so much when I saw it for the first time back in the day. It really feels like the 80s. It really does. You got neon-lit streets at night, and the musical score is reminiscent of the time period as well. The aesthetics of this film are just right up my alley. I will admit that Wong Kar Wai's filmography was a hit-or-miss affair for me personally when I went through most of it years ago. Some of his films I really enjoy, others not so much. If someone watching this video is not familiar with this director, As Tears Go By is one of the first films that I would probably recommend because it does have a conventional enough storyline and conflicts to keep mainstream viewers engaged, for a first-time viewing in exploring this director's filmography, as opposed to something like Ashes of Time. I don't think that's a good first-time viewing for most people out there. Now, the story does feel somewhat generic in As Tears Goes By when compared to other triad films of that era, but the positives of this film definitely outweigh the negatives. On a side note, viewer be warned that there is some gangster-style violence that gets, pretty intense at times. Nothing crazy, but it does get a little intense. But even after all of these years, As Tears Go By is definitely one of my top 3 favorite films from this director. His filmography really isn't that huge, but this is still a top 3 for me. Along with In the Mood for Love and Fallen Angels. Those would be my top 3, I think. This is currently available on Amazon streaming in the United States, as well as DVD and Blu-ray with English subtitles. So check this one out. It's a very good flick. And as always, we'll see you next time.